Go.
1,
2,
3, 4, 5.
Computers are all around us. They are used in almost every aspect of life. In our phones, at our jobs, at our schools, in our televisions. In an ever-evolving world, the need to understand computers and how to use them towards your greatest benefit is extreme. One avenue to understand computers better is being able to program computer applications and develop new softwares. Programming is an extremely large industry and is constantly growing even bigger. It is becoming a necessity to learn almost at least one programming language. And today I will be explaining the basic functions of a computer program and how to develop a simple program in C++. Firstly, why are computer programs important? Computers use programs to assist the user in conducting tasks and creating operating systems. Programs are what allow computers, phones, televisions, and many other appliances and equipment to function properly. Many are also used to create computer applications, more commonly known as apps. There are what you use on your phone to access social media and other forms of communication, some of which we see here. So why C++? C++ is a multi-purpose programming language that can be used to perform or create software that can do any task a computer is capable of. This ranges from creating apps to operating systems and even to creating new web browsers. Now, before we begin looking at the program, we will cover a few of the basic terms associated with programming to gain a greater understanding of the topic. Firstly, a program is simply a set of instructions that someone has written for a computer to understand. When written in a specific language, a single command is known as a statement. Depending on the language used, each statement will have a specific syntax or grammatical usage. Each programming language has a slightly different syntax that can be used for identification. In C++, each statement ends in a semicolon. This is to conclude that line of code, and so we can begin a new one. We also have header files. Header files are what are used to include certain definitions of commands in programming. This makes it easier on the computer and the programmer so that they don't have to write ones and zeros. The computer already recognizes these commands because they have been pre-programmed by another individual, and the information is stored in the computer. There are dozens of various header files in the C++. They each include potential commands that each do different things. Today's demonstration will only include the header file IO stream, I representing input and O representing output. Now that we have covered a few of the basic terms that will come up, let's look at important information to have before beginning our program. The two basic commands we will use in our program today are cin and cout. Cin representing input that the user puts into the program, and cout representing the output that the program sends back to the user. We will also be using the data type integer. An integer is a data type that can store positive or negative whole numbers that can be added, subtracted, multiplied, or divided. There are multiple other data types such as character, boolean, or double, but we will not be using them in our demonstration today. Hopefully a greater understanding of the language has been developed, so now let's finish writing our C++ program. As we can see here, the program has already begun writing. The purpose of this program is to add two numbers that are inputted by the user and add them together and display the sum. As you can see, we will be using the header file IO stream to use input and output. Int main right here represents our main function. Inside of it, we see our code. We have integers, number 1, number 2, and the sum. Number 1 and number 2 will be inputted by the user, and the sum will be outputted back to them. We have our cout command, and inside of it, we have what is the first number. And then we have a semicolon at the end of that, and that will display to the user. The response from the user will be inputted into number 1, or the variable number 1. What is the second number? And here we do not have a semicolon at the end, which is giving us an error message at the bottom of the screen. We will add a semicolon to that to complete that line, and we want to cin the response here to number 2. Now, after we have received both our number 1 and number 2, we can add those together to acquire our sum. So we will say sum is equal to number 1 plus number 2. Now, just because the value of the sum has been set, we still need to display that back to the user. We'll do this using the cout command. So we will cout the sum is, and that is our text, and we will include that in quotation marks. Again, that's a syntax thing with C++. The sum is, and we will display sum. So whatever the value of sum is will be displayed to the user. So now we will start our program. We will let it build for just a second. And here we say there were build errors. So we must fix that. It says that there was no matching token found. And this is because in our main function, we do not have a bracket ending it. Again, this is a syntax thing with C++. So now we will start our program again. It has been fixed, and we have what is the first number? We have 14, and we will say 16 is our second number. Of course, this gives us a sum. The sum is 30, and we did not add a space after is, and if we wanted to, we could go back in, we could add a space, and that will allow the presentation to look much better. What is the first number? We'll say 3 and 5 and 5, and that will give us the sum is 8, and the presentation looks much better. So now that we have looked at our program, in conclusion, we see that computers are extremely important in today's world. Knowing how to use them and why they're important and how to program is very useful in today's world. Being able to program stuff using languages such as C++ and how to tell computers what to do is key in today's world. So hopefully this easy program has taught you something about C++ and you have learned something today about computers and programming. Thank you.
5, 4, 3,
2, 1.